What's up, Falcon fans? This is part 2 of my stats prediction for the Atlanta Falcons. This time we're going to talk about the defensive side of the ball. If you guys like this type of content, hit that like button. If you guys hate this type of content, hit that dislike button or hurt your boy's feelings. Well, maybe just a little bit. But if you want to do a huge favor for your boy, by hitting that subscribe button, it will help out the empire grow. So on that note, let's just continue with the episode with the defensive line position. And I totally forgot, if you guys agree with me, awesome. Now, if you guys disagree with me, that's perfectly fine. I want to hear what you guys have to say about the defensive side of the ball. So on that note, let's continue with the video again. Obviously, our biggest star on the defensive front is Grady Jarrett. Obviously, we all know he got injured 2023 against the Tennessee Titans, where no one saw what happened, but you know, he tore his ACL. He got to play in 8 games. You know, he was doing great. 23 total tackles, 1.5 sack. He was doing it all. You know, obviously in 2015 through 2022, he was a baller. You know, constantly getting sacks for us, constantly getting tackles. You know, he was the defensive tackle, then put in the defensive end, and now D-line. You know, Raheem Moore's going to put him everywhere in the front, so I'm just excited he's going to get back. So I think he's going to come back with 50 total tackles, 4 sacks, no forced fumbles, no interceptions, but he will get those 2 pass deflections because he does get after the ball. He swats them down since 2021. So now let's talk about the other guy. Just FYI, I'm going to label all of them D-line because I know David Ottah plays the nose tackle, but I don't know how Raheem Moore is going to label them or how they're going to set up in this brand new defensive scheme-wise. So obviously, we could label them, you know, nose tackle, a 3-tech, defensive end on the left or the right. It's just a lot easier to convey this scenario. So on that note, I think that David Ottah did a really good job first year as a Falcon back in 2023, where he had, you know, 50 total tackles, 4 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 3 pass deflections. And he has done a pretty good job in New Orleans ever since 2016 through 2022. And the crazy thing is, he's only 31, and last year was his best year statistically when it comes to total tackles. That's amazing. So I do have him a little lower this year, but that's understandable because he's hitting that age mark, and we got a lot of new D-line to scrimmage around, but still pretty solid in my book. So now let's talk about the other one. To be honest with you guys, I don't know what to expect when it comes to Eddie Goldman. So for the past 2 seasons, we have signed him, but he has not been playing with the Atlanta Falcons, whatever reasons they might have been. Look, he's not a bad player in general, because in 2015, in his rookie year, he had 4.5 sacks, 22 total tackles, and in 2017 through 2019, he has been a tackling machine for Chicago's defensive front. So on multiple Atlanta Falcons depth charts websites, he's labeled as a nose tackle, so he's going to share the carry with David Ottah on that position. So I'm going to give him 25 total tackles, 2.5 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, 0 interceptions, and 0 pass deflections. So now let's talk about the defensive ends guys of the D-line position. Tashawn Graham is a very interesting D-line because he's not a household name, but he's not a slouch either. He's been in the league for 3 seasons so far. He's been banged up all of his 3 seasons. Now, he got his first sack last year. He's a solid run stuffer, not a pass rusher. So I'm going to give him 25 total tackles, 2 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, 0 interceptions, and 0 pass deflections. So now let's go on to the next one. Zach Harrison is definitely on the rise. As a rookie, he got 33 total tackles. That's not bad. 3 sacks now. His first sack against the Panthers and 2 sacks against the Colts, and that was literally at the end of the year. So I am very confident enough he's going to ball out for us. So I'm going to give him 45 total tackles, 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 0 interceptions, and 1 pass deflection. So I think that's a pretty good start for this young man's career. So let's talk about the 2 rookies. Rook Aurora will definitely be a savage in the trenches. I like what he did in Clemson, especially in 2021 through 2023, where he showed you he can give you tackle for losses 8 times in 3 seasons, completely doing it consistently enough where he's getting over 23 plus total tackles. He's giving you an average 3 sacks per season. fantastic work in my personal opinion, and he did not allow the running back go through him that much in general. When I ever get to watch some Clemson games, he plays nasty like a son of a gun, so you need a D-line like that. So I'm going to give him 20 total tackles. I'm going to give him 3.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, no interceptions, and no pass deflections. And I think that's pretty good for a rookie, especially with this lineup. So now let's talk about the last rookie. Brandon Doyles is the defensive tackle out of Oregon, and apparently for the defensive tackles, he was the third best when it comes to pressure. You know, Michael Hall, then Brian Murphy's, and then Doyles was third on the list. So that's not bad company in my personal opinion. So on the Falcons depth chart, he's labeled as a defensive end behind Graham. So on that note, I'm going to give him 15 total tackles, 2 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, 0 interceptions, and 0 pass deflections. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people later down the line. Oh yeah, I totally forgot about Chancey Street, where the Atlanta Falcons traded for him for exchange, I think a 6th or 7th round draft pick from the Philadelphia Eagles. He only got to play 5 games with us, and he played 8 games with the Eagles during 2023. Now, I do remember him being drafted by the 49ers, and there was a lot of excitement because he was supposed to be that big, athletic, you know, D-line guy. Never really lived up to the hype, but I'm going to give him 15 total tackles, 1 sack for us, 0 forced fumbles, 0 interceptions, and 0 pass deflections. So now let's talk about the linebacking core. Inside linebacker Kaden Ellis was definitely a star for us last season. I knew he was good, but I didn't know he was that good. You know, good in coverage, making sure a lot of the tight ends or running backs did not get past him. Excellent coverage. He had a career year last season with 122 total tackles. You know, 82 solo tackles. You know, career year in pass deflections with 3. He had 4 sacks last year. I know back in 2022 when he had 7 sacks for the New Orleans Saints. This year, I know he's going to have another career year for us. So I'm going to give him 134 total tackles, 5.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble. He will also get his very first interception in his entire career this year with the Atlanta Falcons market. And then I'm going to give him 3 pass deflections. So now let's talk about the other inside linebacker. Troy Anderson is coming back from a shoulder pectoral injury that he got in week 3 last season. Now, this is his 3rd season coming in. I think he's going to get 62 total tackles, 0 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, 0 interceptions, and 3 pass deflections. And the reason why I'm saying it's going to be lower this year because he's coming back from a serious injury, and I don't know how much speed he has. He lost. He did a pretty good job in his rookie season when he ever got the chance. You know, he played all 17 games. So frankly, I don't know what to expect, but in the Atlanta Falcons depth chart, .com, he is labeled as the starting inside linebacker. So I'm going to give him those type of stats. So now let's talk about the backups for the inside linebacker position. For a undrafted linebacker in Nate Lampman, he did a really good job picking up after Troy Anderson went down, especially against the Jacksonville Jaguars and throughout, where he was constantly getting almost 10 tackles per game. I love that he was feisty. He was all over the place. You know, his 110 total tackles kind of show his 2 sacks and his 3 forced fumbles and 1 interception. I mean, he was all over the field. So here's the bad news. I personally feel like Nate Lampman is not going to have a success compared to last season, compared to this season, because Troy Anderson is coming back from injury. So we all know when Troy Anderson got hurt, Nate Lampman had the opportunity of a lifetime to go out and ball out. So since Troy is coming back, I think his role is going to be decreased. And I don't think the Atlanta Falcons ever thought he was going to be that good. So that's why I am saying that we're probably not going to see a lot of him this season. Maybe next season when the new coaching staff can kind of figure out where they want to put him in certain situations. But I just have a strong feeling this might be a one-hit wonder for us for right now. Hopefully I'm wrong. So I gave him 55 total tackles, 0 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, 0 interceptions, and 0 pass deflections, because I don't think he's going to be put in situations where you're going to make key plays. So now let's talk about the rookie inside linebacker. J.D. Bertram did a really good job in the preseasons. He was all over the field. He was tackling everybody, hardly ever missed tackles. So I'm going to give him 12 total tackles, 0 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, 0 interceptions, and 0 pass deflections, because he's only going to be in certain situations, probably if we do blowout games or the very last couple of snap plays he might be put in. So now let's talk about the outside linebackers. Lorenzo Carter is a decent player. He's not bad, but he's not great either. I mean, he's going to get you what you expect. Solid tackling. At least gives you a couple sacks and, turnovers and pass deflections. I do remember him starting for us in 2022, but then 2023, he wasn't in the starting role, so he was like the backup role. But this season, he's going to be in the starting role, so I'm going to give him 48 total tackles, 4 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, no interceptions, and 4 pass deflections. And since he's been with the Atlanta Falcons for 2 years, he's been averaging 3+ sacks per season. So on to the next one. I'm a huge fan of Arnold Ebiketie game. He definitely is one of the youngest pass rushers to get a lot of pressures against the quarterback. He gets a lot of hurries. He gets a lot of quarterback hits. He gets a lot of disruptive plays. Problem is, he does not get the sacks on time. So in 2022, in his rookie season, where he had 2.5 sacks, where I calculated where he could have easily got 11.5 sacks, and in 2023, where he had 6 sacks, he could have easily got 12 sacks. So the thing is that he is capable of getting after the quarterback. He just needs to find his groove or rhythm or his little quick feet to get the quarterback as soon as possible before they throw it away or they scramble out of the pocket. So I'm going to give him 33 total tackles, 6.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 0 interceptions, and 0 pass deflections. So if he can improve on his master craft with his hand and his feet, he could easily double this. But until I see that happening, that's what I'm going to give him. So now let's talk about the other guys. DAngelo Malone is just going to be a backup again for the past 2 seasons. He had a career year in his rookie season, played in 15 games, got 29 total tackles, 1 sack. But then, 2023, his role been to decrease, and I think that's going to happen again for him this time, but he's going to get a little bit more of a chance. So I'm going to give him 14 total tackles, 0 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, 0 interceptions, and 0 pass deflections. So now let's talk about the new recruit we just got. So when it comes to James Smith-Williams, I have no idea how the Atlanta Falcons is going to use him. He's been okay for the Washington Commanders, not great but not bad either, like compared to Carter. So I think he's gonna have that type of mentality. I think I would have gave him more stats, but then I know in the depth chart he's going to be behind Judon, so I don't see him doing a lot for us. So I'm going to give him 17 total tackles, 0 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, 0 interceptions, and 0 pass deflections, just because we got Judon now, and he's going to be the star. So that's the only reason why I'm just going to give him these lucrative stat lines. So now let's talk about our last superstar pass rusher. So in theory, Matthew Judon is going to be our pass rusher answer for a long time. Now, obviously, he's coming back from a serious injury where he only got to play in 4 games last season, and that was his most serious injury since he's been in the league in 2016 with the Baltimore Ravens. He has been constantly getting after the quarterback with ease with the Baltimore Ravens, but then when he was traded to the New England Patriots, he just absolutely exploded in the pass rush, getting more than 10 plus sacks per season when he was there before the injury happened. So we have to realize, guys, that he's not going to come in right away, just demolish everybody. Hopefully I'm wrong with that statistic, but it just seems to me he's going to take a couple of games to get acclimated, because remember, we just got him recently, so he has to relearn the whole new defensive scheme wise. He has to gel with his homies, in the trenches. So it's going to take some teamwork and some chemistry there. But when he finally does, he's going to ball out, help us, reach, the playoffs. So that's why I'm going to give him 52 total tackles, 8 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 0 interceptions, and 3 pass deflections. And that's not bad for a first year for the Atlanta Falcons. And hopefully we can re-sign him again, and he's going to get greater amount of stat-wise for the next season. But for this season, this is what I'm going to say. So now let's talk about the cornerbacks and the safety positions. AJ Terrell is our superstar corner. For the past 2 seasons, a lot of quarterbacks do not want to throw in his way, and it shows when it comes to the tackling. And when he does tackle you, he's a thumper. He's also a pass deflection guru. He's a sticky man coverage guru. Well, I will admit, in the very beginning, it takes a couple of games for him to get back onto his elite status level. But when that happens, he's a nightmare to deal with. And I think last season, he only allowed 3 wide receivers to get over 100 receiving yards against him. And those were big time name wide receivers. So I'll give him 52 total tackles, 0 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 2 interceptions, and then 12 pass deflections with ease. So now let's talk about the other cornerbacks. Alford is our starting nickel corner for the Atlanta Falcons, and last year he got benched for some reason. I don't know why. So I'm going to give him 37 total tackles, 0 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions, and 5 pass deflections. So I'm very kind of curious where Raheem Morris is going to put him in these nickel packages situation. So I'm very curious on that. So on to the next one. So far as I can tell, Antonio Hamilton is just a solid corner depth piece veteran for us. He's been with 4 teams already. Oakland, before they move into Nevada, New York, Kansas City, and then the last place was the Cardinals for 3 seasons, and that's where he had his best career so far. And so I'm going to give him 26 total tackles, 0 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, 0 interceptions, and 2 pass deflections. So I think he's going to be put in third down situations. So now to the next one. I think that Clark Phillip III had a really great ending to his rookie season, because in the beginning he did not get any play time until the Cardinals game at the middle of the season. So he got his first start against the New York Jets, and he did a great job in shutting down all his opponents, mostly against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and then the Colts. So I think there's gonna be a bright light for him, but for some reason in some depth chart websites they label him as a backup. I don't know why. I prefer him starting besides AJ Terrell personally, but if we're gonna look at the depth chart, I'm gonna give him 36 total tackles, 0 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, 1 interceptions, and 7 pass deflections. Believe me, this is now how I personally feel. I'm just only going along what the depth charts tells me. So now let's talk about the other cornerback. Mike Hughes is a solid rotational piece at the cornerback position. He's been playing with 3 different teams before coming to us. Last year he was the backup for us, but I think this year he's going to get a starting role. So ignore this. So I'm going to give him 50 total tackles, 0 sacks, 0 forced fumbles. I'm going to give him 1 interception, and I'm going to give him 10 pass deflections. And now let's talk about the safeties. Jessie Bates III had a career year in total tackles with 132, and then when it comes to forced fumbles, 3, and when it comes to interceptions, 6, and 12 pass deflections for his first time gearing up as Atlanta Falcons. So I think he's going to have pretty much the same stat line, but of course now he got a lot more help when it comes to the pass rush and his safety buddy as well. He's still going to get 6 interceptions because he's a dog, 12 pass deflections, 2 forced fumbles this time, 0 sacks, and 110 total tackles, because now he doesn't have to do more than he needs to, because he has a complete defense to help him out. And we have Kirk Cousins, and that means the offensive side of the ball is going to stay a lot longer instead of getting 3 outs and 3 and outs constantly. So that will probably help out as well. So now let's talk about the other free safety. Micah Akins is just a backup free safety. He only got to play in 12 games last season. 7 total tackles. So I think this year, because of the new studs we got, he's going to get 5 total tackles, and everything else just pretty much 0 at that point. So now let's talk about the strong safety position. Justin Simmons is the free safety that used to play for the Denver Broncos back in 2016 through 2023, and then they cut him for whatever reasons. He's so athletic, he makes a lot of good plays, he's a tackling machine, he's aware of his surroundings, he could do it all type of safety. But I think for the Atlanta Falcons, they're going to put him in the strong safety position because we already have Jessie Bates, the third, starting at the free safety position. So I'm going to give him 90 total tackles, 1 sack, 2 forced fumbles, 5 interceptions, and 10 pass deflections. And that's a pretty good start for the Atlanta Falcons. I guess my biggest concern is why the Denver Broncos decided to cut, a Pro Bowler status free safety like him. But, hopefully it works out with us and he will pay us dividends. So now let's talk about the last strong safety. Richie Grant is a solid strong safety all around. He started in 2022 through 2023, but now I think he's going to be the backup behind Justin Simmons, but that's totally fine because he does give you 100 tackles per season. He does make some really good plays, a couple of sacks last year, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. He gives you interceptions besides his rookie year in 2021. We only had 35 total tackles. So I'm going to give him 54 total tackles, 0 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, 0 interceptions, and 4 pass deflections. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. This took longer than I thought it would be. If you guys lasted this long to the very end of the video, thank you so much for taking your own personal time and day to watch these Falcon content videos. I like making videos for you guys. So what do Falcons do? Rise up. Until the next episode, show love and peace to the world, and peace.